Hey, Kim. I'm always interested in learning new things about training horses. But when I've talked to positive reinforcement trainers in the past, it's basically been all or nothing. And if they do positive reinforcement, they only do positive reinforcement and not negative reinforcement, which is the traditional pressure and release training. So I wanted to talk to you and introduce you as well to my people. This is fellow horse trainer and coach Kim Wendy. And Kim is a positive reinforcement trainer, but it's only one of the tools in her toolbox and a very important one. Welcome, Kim.
Thanks, Trish. I am excited to be here and talk to you about this.
Awesome. So tell me, why did you start adding positive reinforcement into your training?
Well, what made me interested in this is I had done natural horsemanship for several years, and I saw where some people were having problems with their horses. Um, like one girl in particular that I remember, her horse was rearing up at her,
Mhm.
and he just got tired of her asking the same things when it's like he already knew how to do it and stuff. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to help horses understand these things. So I started doing some searching and I happened to come across someone who was also in the natural horsemanship program that I was in with me. And she was doing clicker training. And I watched her work with her miniature horses and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. The way her horses were responding and stuff. And I thought, I've got to learn more about this. And I'm not sure if I'd ever really come across it or really paid attention to it because I know they've used it for dogs for a long time.
Mhm.
And they use it with marine animals and stuff like that because you can't force them to do things.
No.
It just wasn't really on my radar until then, until I started searching. And so when I found that, I wanted to learn more about it. And that's how I got into using positive reinforcement.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. Yeah. A horse has probably got more in common with whales and deers than it does with dogs and people. So seems like it would be a good match for them.
And they use it for zoo animals because you can't take an elephant and force it around.
No.
Uh,
So I've always believed that it benefits a horse to show them something from the ground before you do it ridden, both to help their confidence and because our weight, well, actually our balance and our inconsistent aids while on top of our horse can make it harder for them to learn something new. And if it's new to the rider as well, then seeing what's happening from the ground can help them both learn. And I know you specialize in teaching horses to do obstacles from the ground. Why did you decide to specialize in that?
the reason why I decided to specialize in that is because I got hurt in a riding accident, and it tore my ACL in half. And so I wasn't able to ride after that. Um, so, and the doctor didn't want me around the big horses because they could, push me over easily or something like that. And so I started looking into miniature horses. And when I found the miniature horses, then I found out they were showing it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this will be a lot of fun to show him. At the time, my son was young too. And it was a really good family, um, it's good for families to bring them together to show
Mhm.
them the miniature horses and stuff. And so I got into the miniature horses. We don't ride them. And so, it's driving or doing things on the ground. And when I started doing these things on the ground, and they have what's called trail in, or they call it trail obstacle with the miniature horses.
Mhm.
And I love anything with a pattern. And so the obstacles, I was like, I want to start doing this. I discovered that it is not that easy to start teaching them things on the ground as it is opposed to riding them. And so I started working on that and developing my skills of teaching the miniature horses how to do that from the ground. And then I still had some bigger horses too, and started teaching them how to do things on the ground like that through the
Mhm.
obstacles, and realized how much it improved so many things for the horses, and it improved my horsemanship skills. So that's what got me into doing obstacles on the ground. And then, of course, I am not really able to ride. I tried to go back to riding after my surgery,
Mhm.
but what happens is from the knee down on my right side is my leg goes completely to sleep and I have no feeling. And that's not a good thing when you're in the saddle because you can't give cues. If you had to get off, emergency stop, my leg's not going to support me.
Mhm.
So I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I know there's a big community of people out there that aren't riding. And
Mhm.
what happens sometimes is people tell them, if you're not going to ride, you need to get rid of that horse, which is, I do not agree with that. I don't like people telling people that.
Mhm.
This is a great way for people to build a great connection and trust and develop some really good communication with their horse on the ground.
Definitely. And their horse might be too young to ride, or it
Yes.
might be a senior horse, or they might have an injury, yeah, even if it's just temporary. So yeah, just any horse could benefit from it. So tell me how using positive reinforcement with the obstacles there helps the horses to learn easier, better, or faster than not using it.
So what I discovered by using positive reinforcement is that it helps the horse to really understand when I use the click, which is the marker signal, that they do something like maybe taking a step backwards when I'm teaching them to back, is I click and they start understanding when they hear that. It's a bridge to say, yes, that's what I want.
Mhm.
It's so quick that they start understanding that, and then the reward comes. And so that's why I like it so much, is because it really helps them to understand things, as opposed to what I was doing before. It may take several tries to them to finally understand things, and then the timing. Of course, it's important to get your timing right with clicker training too, but I
Mhm.
found that the horses were understanding a lot faster and they were more willing to try.
That's great. Um, I know that we've talked about this a little bit before, and it doesn't even have to be a clicker, and it doesn't have to be a food treat.
Right. I worked with a 2-week-old foal. My friend had went on vacation, left her mare and her foal here, and asked me to get the foal used to the halter. Well, he was not eating food. And so for me, I start a horse out with a clicker because it's a very distinct sound, but then I transition to, I use a roll of my tongue that I go, some people will say good.
Hmm,
Other
that's what
people,
I do.
yeah, they use different sound. A friend of mine who works with zoo animals and stuff like that, that's what she says is good, good. I like the roll of the tongue thing. It's something that's very unusual that people don't do. That's why I use it. Anyway, I got him to where I could put the halter on him and start to lead him around and stuff. And I only scratched him. He loved to have his withers scratched, and never used a treat with him. So it's all in what the animal, their form of reward is.
Mhm.
That's what you have to look at.
What they value.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't think I could make that sound that you made, and I'm not going to embarrass myself trying it on camera. I can't roll my R's either.
My husband's the same way. He's like, I can't do that sound.
So I understand you also work with donkeys and mules.
Yes, I do. I have 2 miniature donkeys, and I had a mule in the past too, a miniature mule that I had. And so I use that with them, and it's really, really come in handy with them, because donkeys especially, I mean, yes, mules are they're highly intelligent. Not that donkeys aren't, because they're intelligent too. It's just that with donkeys, when you start forcing them, they'll just shut down. They're
Mhm.
like, I'm done, not going to do this no matter what. And they are a heck of a lot stronger than we are. Even the miniatures, they can drag grown men easily. And so one of the miniature donkeys that I got when I got him, he had not been touched. He was in a pasture with, I think she had 30 or 40 other donkeys. And so we had to just round him up and scoot him into a trailer. And when we got him home and got a halter on him, that was interesting to get him to the pen. And
Mhm.
so that's how I got him gentled down, by using clicker training. And it developed so much trust. He trusts me so much. And the communication, he understands that he can offer the behaviors instead of being forced.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't worked with donkeys, but I have with mules, and they are a lot smarter than horses, although other people may have a less generous term for it. But it makes them more challenging to train, and I think anybody that can train a donkey or a mule can definitely train a horse.
That's what my friend who trains donkeys a lot, she said, anybody who trains a donkey, they can train a horse.
Yeah. So, how does using positive reinforcement help a donkey, mule, or horse to learn a new skill, like becoming confident with a new or spooky obstacle?
So again, like with my donkeys, and they're like horses. They have different temperaments. I have one that's called a spot, which means he looks like the paint horse
Mhm.
or pinto horse. He is kind of brownish black and white, and the other one's a traditional gray. My spot, he tends to be more willing to try new things and go over obstacles. The gray one is very cautious.
Mhm.
And so using positive reinforcement has helped him to, again, offer the behavior, like when I was working with them to go over a bridge or something, that when he takes a step forward, I click, and then I treat, and he starts understanding, oh, you want me to come towards this. Because again, if I started pulling on him, he's going to pull me backwards.
Yeah.
Even with a rope halter on them, they're so incredibly strong. But it has built trust that he is willing to try to do those things.
Mhm.
So I love what it has done for them. And they enjoy it too. When I'm working with one, the other one's over there making noise or pawing or something. It's like, no, come over here and get me.
My turn, my turn.
Yep, exactly.
So I understand that you have a course available that can help people learn to introduce their horse to positive reinforcement and use it to introduce their horse to obstacles or help them overcome challenges they're having with new or spooky things. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I do. I have a course, and it is helping your horse to become confident to new or spooky obstacles. And what I want people to know too is that I am not what they call the traditional positive reinforcement trainer, because I have shown, and you can't go in the show ring clicking and treating your horse. And so I do phase out the click and the treat, is to introduce them to something new or reinforce a behavior later on. It's not something I keep doing continually. So with this program, what it does is, um, my little mini course that I have is kind of just a get started, introducing you to what clicker training is, the tools that you need, and it tells you a little bit, helps you with some of the timing exercises. I give you ideas on timing exercises because that is important. And they're
Mhm.
fun exercises to do when you go through this program. It talks about treat delivery and boundaries, because setting boundaries is important when we're using treats and stuff,
Mhm.
because some horses they do get food aggressive. And um, those are special cases that really need to be looked at really close if something like that happens.
Mhm.
And then I talk to them also about their awareness, because it's important when we're working with horses, mules, or donkeys, that we are present, because horses and mules and donkeys are always present. They're not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, what happened last week, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so I talk to you about those things and where you're at and how you're feeling and stuff, because that's important. It's going to affect your training when you're working with that animal. I also take you through getting started of targeting an object and how to do that. And then I have a simple obstacle that I show you that is something a little spooky in this program, that anybody can use this obstacle. It's not like you have to build anything. It's something that everybody will have at their house that they can use.
Awesome. So I'm a horse trainer. I've been doing it all my life, but I don't use positive reinforcement. And it sounds like this program would help to get me started so that I don't create problems like horses getting pushy, which I would know how to solve doing traditional training, but um, because there's food involved and clickers and it's all new, um, I don't know that stuff. So assuming that their course will help me understand that a little bit better.
It does. It goes into some of that. Like I said, it talks about setting boundaries, because
Mhm.
again, that is important when you are working with food. And I set you up for success when you're doing that, because what happens with some people is in fact, I was watching a program today that some people may have seen, and it's called Heartland. And this horse this girl has, she treats it no matter what. It pushed her down. She gave it a treat. That's what can start causing problems, just like with any tool. If you use it wrong, you're going to have problems. I saw
Mhm.
it in the natural horsemanship when I was doing that. People using things wrong, it creates problems. So, yes, this is going to give you a little introduction into getting started using positive reinforcement. There's other layers to it, which I go into in a more in-depth course, but this course will give you some of the starters and basics to get going.
Hmm. So if somebody's new to training their horse and or new to positive reinforcement, this would be the good course to start them on.
Yes, it would be a very good course because it gives you some of those basics to help you understand what it's about and how to get started.
Yeah. So you're down in Texas. If someone wanted to have lessons with you in person down there, how many days would they need to learn what's in this course? And what would that cost them?
So what I like to do is um, I like to set it up where people commit to at least 3 months to get going. I feel like that's a very good um, foundational place to be, is the 90 days. And my prices, I start out at around $300. Now that, depends on what you're going to take and how long you're going to take it, but they can start out at $300. And I like to do a lesson at least every week, sometimes more, depending on what's happened.
Mhm. Of course, I know the problem that I have, and I'm sure there's others have the same one, is that by the time I get home after learning this stuff, I've forgotten half of what you taught me, which is why it takes longer sometimes to learn it. So that's why it's so great that you've put this into an online course so people can access it daily when they need to. And I understand you've got a great deal for us for the next couple of days. So remind me what will be covered in this course.
Okay. So again, yes, and I do have a special deal for those of you watching this interview. Um, so again, what's going to be covered is I'm going to be talking about what is clicker training, the tools that you're going to need for clicker training, timing exercises. And like I said, those are some fun exercises to do. When I've had people go through them, they're like, that was a lot of fun. And it is. It's really interesting to do. The treat delivery, how to deliver the treats properly, because that's very important to know how to do that. And your awareness and how you're being around your horse and stuff, because that is an very important part. I get you started with targeting an object, because that's where we started with things. And then I have an object that is something that's spooky that everybody will be able to have at their house. You don't have to go build it, and you'll have access to it.
That's great. Yeah, because once you know how to use the techniques with one spooky thing, will apply to other spooky things.
Right.
And how much are you going to be offering this course for the next couple of days?
The normal price is $97, and I have discounted it to $47, which is a really great deal because you have taken the time to watch this interview. I'm going to have a special for the next couple of days.
Wow, that's really good. You guys are going to want to do that now. I'm going to put the link below. Thanks so much, Kim, for coming and sharing your views on positive reinforcement as one tool to help your horse, mule, or donkey learn faster.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
It was my pleasure.